I am choosing to buy Turbo instead of Bitcoin. And even though nothing I say is financial advice, here are the reasons why. First of all, people like to say, whoa, this is crazy, man. What do you mean by this? Well, after all, I'm in the world of cryptocurrencies to get hypothetical upside. I'm not talking about like 2014. I'm not talking about 10 years ago at this point. I'm talking about as of right now, what do I think has more room to grow, especially at this point? I think hands down, it's going to be Turbo. Now I get it. In terms of pure fundamentals, Bitcoin does completely blow out, Turbo out of the water. But, it's a meme coin after all. It's not supposed to have a good use case. And if we take a look at the upside, right? Turbo, let's say hypothetically go into the price of 50 cents during this bull run, which is my price target, by the way. That right there would be around a 43x from here. And it's not like this is a crazy figure or anything like that, because if it were to go to that price, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $33 billion, which is like not even 50% of Dogecoin's all-time high market cap. So I don't think it's too much to ask for. Dogecoin at one point reached over 80 billion. So yeah, I don't think it's insane. Now on the flip side, can Bitcoin do over a 40x from here? Especially during this bull run. I'm not talking about like 20, 30 years later. I'm just saying in the next 6 months to a year, maybe a little bit more than that. I don't think it can do that, right? Because on the flip side, if let's say Bitcoin were to do a 43x from here, at that point, the price would be nearly $4.4 million. So that's insane. And also not to mention the market cap, considering current circulating supply, would be around $86.5 trillion. Now we got to think about this logically, right? Can Bitcoin, let's say, go to $200,000, $300,000 in price? Maybe during a fully fledged bull run, let's say in a year or so, who knows? But then I don't think it can do, let's say, over a 40x again. I think that's completely out of the question, especially in the short to medium term. Now, some people like to say that, oh yeah, man, Bitcoin is such an amazing store of value. Take a look at the Bitcoin ETF, all this type of stuff. That's great and all, but I'm not debating the fundamentals here. All I'm debating is the hypothetical upside. And I think Turbo does win in this case. Again, it's no insult on Bitcoin, but personally, I don't own any Bitcoin and I don't want to, because the way I take a look at it is that altcoins, that's where it's at least personally for me. I'm not looking for like a 2 or 3x, if that makes sense. And even though I get it, right, Bitcoin has pumped up by a lot. But when I consider, the point in which I started acquiring Turbo, right, ever since then, I would be up a lot more than I would have if I had acquired Bitcoin, if that makes sense. So the way I view it is that I don't think acquiring Turbo instead of Bitcoin was ever a mistake. And I don't think it's ever going to be a mistake moving forward, at least personally for me. While we're at that topic, in my opinion, if I was like a large scale enterprise, why would I acquire Bitcoin? Just think about this logically, right? I would much rather choose Turbo. Now, this may sound crazy because, some people may think, whoa, what do you mean by that? All this type of stuff, that's insane. Well, again, a business, they're looking to get profits, right? So why would they choose something that has a potentially worse upside than something like Turbo, hypothetically, even though it's a meme coin? But I think it's about time people change the stigma and the, notion when it comes to meme coin, because I get it. It's not a project that is going to have a good use case. But if the upside is good, hypothetically, why does it matter? It doesn't really matter, right? Because again, good fundamentals, it matters for the creators of the project. It matters to for the very long term, let's say 10 years, 15 years. But in the short to medium term, it doesn't really matter. And again, a business, they're looking to make profits, right? So if let's say I was heading one of the Fortune 500 companies or something like that, even though it may seem crazy, I'd say that, yeah, instead of acquiring Bitcoin, we're going to acquire, meme coins. Something, for instance, in the case of Turbo. Why not? After all, we're looking to get upside. Some people out there, they like to say, oh yeah, man, take a look at this enterprise. They made like a 3x from Bitcoin. Well, if they could have made let's say over a 50x with something else, what would have been more impressive? I think hands down, it would have been something else, even though it may be like some random meme coin or some random altcoin no one has ever heard of. That's just my mentality. Now, some people like to say that, yeah, meme coins don't have a future, all this type of stuff, but I disagree. I think moving forward, people are going to put more recognition towards meme coins. And if anything, I would actually suggest having a sort of S&P 500 in a sense, but for meme coins. Why not, right? I think that right there is such a great idea. Let's say someone can get into this S&P 500 sort of thing, but it's like the top 500 meme coins, I think that would greatly outperform the S&P 500. Some people out there like to say that, oh yeah, S&P 500 is amazing. It's good like decades ago, but as of right now, it's just boring. I would much rather have like a version of like the S&P 500, but for meme coins. I think that would be such a smart idea. But you know what? It's still in the early stages when it comes to meme coins and the whole crypto space. But I think eventually, why not? Something like that I think would be fantastic. But yeah, that's just my idea. But even besides that point, when it comes to Turbo, the unique thing about it is that even though there are so many meme coins out there, the special thing again about it is the fact that, it's a meme coin created by AI. It's a genius move because, granted, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's anything really different from other meme coins because, of course, the use case for like Turbo isn't really like impressive or anything like that. Like it's pretty much Kaka. If you actually take a look at like Pepe or Turbo, what's really the difference? They're both just meme coins, right? At the end of the day, doesn't really matter. But again, being a meme coin created by AI, I think that right there does create a lot more like, attention for something like Turbo because in the world of cryptocurrencies, especially in the world of meme coins, the competition is very strong because it feels like everything's the same. So a way to stand out is, of course, by being a unique and special meme coin, much like in the case of Turbo, a meme coin created by AI. I think it's a genius move. I can't deny the fact that, Turbo is going to heavily rely on Bitcoin because it is. Because if Bitcoin doesn't do well, Turbo isn't going to do well, in my opinion. But if Bitcoin does good, let's say it does like a 2 or 3x from right here, again, I'm not saying that it's going to be bad, but I personally wouldn't want to acquire Bitcoin because if I think Bitcoin is going to do good, why wouldn't I acquire something else that's going to do a lot better as a result of Bitcoin doing good, if that makes sense, right? So again, I think Bitcoin could do good during this bull run, like 200,000, let's say 300,000. I don't see why not. But if let's say Bitcoin does that, I think Turbo would go up a lot more, which is why I think Turbo is a much wiser pick for me. Now, granted, a meme coin has a lot more risk. I totally understand that. But the amazing thing about Turbo is that the amount of holders is very strong. Also on top of that, the community is fantastic. And not to mention exposure is very good. Listed on Binance, KuCoin, right? So if you actually take a look at something like Turbo, this right here is amazing. And not to mention future potential listings in the future. Turbo, I think the sky is the limit. Now, again, is it going to reach like 50 cents like tomorrow or something like that? No, but I think around 6 months to a year from right now, it could be a totally different story. And I think that, if I look back at this time, 6 months, a year from right now, I'm going to be like, yeah, it's such a wise idea for me to choose Turbo because even back in early September, when everyone was clowning me for still acquiring Turbo, guess what? If you actually take a look at the chart, I'm still up by a lot, hypothetically. Now, granted, has there been pullbacks along the way, but however, I'm still up by my original point. So I still think it's good nonetheless, but I still think it has some in the gas tank because again, 50 cents is still my price target for Turbo during this bull run. And I really can't wait. And again, if I could only choose one for this bull run, Turbo or Bitcoin, hands down, it's going to have to be Turbo. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I greatly appreciate it. It's Vinny the Captain. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm all peace. Bye.